Hey, hi guys, thanks for joining. I just wanted to get a quick update on the major events happening in your regions and sub-regions. I'll just give you a quick coverage of some of the main issues. You can catch up with them later on our internal and external distributions. The major point of the regions actually coming out of Australia today, there's protests in Melbourne. These are ongoing protests, and basically it's a new bill that's passing the state parliament that enables the Premier of the state to declare a state of emergency for 3 months without running it past the health minister. You know, yet another autocratic move by Australia and, well, by a state, but within Australia. Other issues are mainly COVID. There's been massive breakout in China, so 10,000 odd students have been quarantined. Taiwan's reduced the quarantine period if you've had a rapid antigen test for 7 days just for the Lunar New Year period. There's been massive floods in the Thai Peninsula and also in Java and Sumatra, which have closed highways and created mudslides. And they're the major issues affecting the region. Obviously today we produced 5, but for those of you that would like to seek our subscription, reach out to us. Please go ahead. It's one of you on the, perhaps Basil, you could start off Sub-Sahara Africa or the Middle East.
Yeah, for sure, Paul. So we have quite a few incidents from Sub-Saharan Africa, especially in Nigeria. There's a wide security turmoil in, as usual, the Katsina states in northwest and northeast of the country. 4 people were killed by unidentified gunmen in Benue State also, in one of the attacks that are not recent in that. At the same time, in Somalia, there was 2 Ugandan African Union mission peacekeepers that were sentenced to death by the Somali court because they killed 7 farmers in the Lower Shabelle region. At the same time, the security and political turmoil in Sudan continues. 5 protesters were killed during pro-democracy protests over the weekend. At the same time, Yemen is on another turmoil, security turmoil. The Houthis and the pro-government forces are continuing their clashes in Yemen. That's it from the MENA region.
Okay, great. Bhargav, go ahead.
Thank you, Paul. In South Asia, the 2 or 3 major issues. In India, especially, the Maoist issue has propped up again, but more in favor of the government. More than 26 armed Maoist rebels. Maoists are the Naxal rebels who is the central government. They are leftists in their ideological leanings, and they are opposed to the state of India. Now, they're mainly active in what we call the Red Corridor of India, in central and central eastern part of the country, mainly in the states of Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Jharkhand. There were 26 armed rebels who were killed, and one of them, including the regional commander. This was accomplished through C-60 commandos of the state police, armed state police for that matter. And one other issue in eastern part of the country by a secessionist group called PLA, People's Republican Army, not to be confused with the Chinese PLA. They are basically the secessionist rebels fighting along the ethnic lines against the Indian government, and they ambushed an army convoy. In fact, Assam Rifles paramilitary convoy, taking out the commander, a colonel-level commander, and the entire family. Now, this basically highlights the ineffectiveness of the Indian forces in eastern regions in fighting the insurgents, separatist insurgency, as well as the leftist insurgency for that matter. Afghanistan, there were explosions and deaths in Nangarhar province as well as in Kabul. Now, this is important to note because Taliban, despite being a very lethal insurgent group, they are failing to ensure that their own citizens or their own governance is intact, and that is going to be a problem in the medium to long term. These explosions were carried out by the ISK, Islamic State Khorasan Province Division, and they are very lethal. They are radicalized. They use methods like suicide bombers. So watch out for. Paul, any inputs on that?
No, I'd like to drill in a little bit more with you. Obviously, a couple of clients are going to be particularly interested in the situation in Somalia and several clients in the situation in Afghanistan. So I'd like to drill in that a little bit more offline with you if we could. I think that suffices for now. That gives me an overview of the major issues. Appreciate it, chaps. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Paul. Paul, before we conclude, one major issue which I overlooked in South Asia includes a curfew as well as a lockdown, which are being considered in Delhi to fight the pollution. The air quality has deteriorated in Delhi, and for corporate clients, that's going to be important. And the curfew, what I'm talking about, is in Maharashtra due to communal violence in eastern Maharashtra, an area called Amravati. Thank you, Paul.